Hey everybody, today I'll be installing a Turner Motorsports power pulley kit on my e46 330i, which is now a Dynan 3. Stay tuned. Alright guys, here's the kit. This is what it comes with. It comes with a water pump pulley, power steering pulley, and an alternator pulley. And there's two different versions. There's one for a Vallejo, which is what I have, and then one for I think a BMW OEM, which technically they're both OEM, but there's two different versions. One for the Vallejo, one for the other one. And you need the different size belt, of course, because these are underdrive pulleys. So the diameter of these is a little bit smaller. So what I'm going to do next is pull all the pulleys off, I think, and then compare all three with what comes off the car and these, so you guys can see the difference in diameter. And it's not going to be an install video. It's just going to be a quick versus video, pulling out the old stuff, showing you the new stuff, and then I will do a review of my thoughts on what the performance improvements are, if any. So before I get to that though, let me walk you through the car so you guys know what's on there. Alright guys, this is my 2002 330i. I've owned it since it was new. It is now a Dynan 3, and I've done, as far as the Dynan stuff goes, obviously strut bar, cold air intake. It does have a Dynan larger diameter throttle body intake, or excuse me, larger throttle body. I've got the stage 3 engine software, and the transmission software is an automatic. Unfortunately, when I bought it, it was I was living in a place that had a lot of stop and go traffic. But I've replaced the Vanos bearings in it, kept up to date. I do have a Stewart water pump in there. I've done some other stuff that's not necessarily relevant, quite a bit of other stuff that's not relevant to this particular modification. I do have UUC TSE3 or TSE3 catback exhaust. So other than putting a supercharger or turbocharger on it, I think this is about the last thing I can do to get as much horsepower out of as possible. So without further ado, I'm going to take out this right here, water pump. I'm going to take out the power steering pump right there, water pump, power steering pump, and then of course the alternator pulley. So I think I'm going to try to pull all three of those out first and then compare the OEM with the Turner kit so you guys see the diameter difference. And then I'll drive around and give you my thoughts on whether or not I had any performance improvements. There has been a lot of discussion about whether or not this kit's worth the money, and I think on a stock car it probably wouldn't be, but I have quote unquote, this car is so heavily quote unquote modified that I'm hoping that I can eke out some extra horsepower just simply because of all the other stuff I've done. And really power pulley kits or underdrive pulleys, any one of them, the goal is to eliminate parasitic loss, so basically to free up horsepower. Of course it doesn't add anything, but hopefully it'll rev a little bit more free at the top end, and I'm expecting that's what I'll feel, but I'll let you guys know once we're done. So without further ado, let's go ahead and pull those bad boys out and see if we can compare. Okay, got them all out and side-by-side comparison. So on the left-hand side you've got the OEM, and on the right-hand side you've got the Turner. From top to bottom it's power steering pump, water pump, alternator. So you can see each one of the Turners is slightly larger than the OEM. Now I don't know about you, but in my head I was thinking that an underdrive pulley would be smaller, but once you think about it, it makes sense that they're all bigger. I'm not going to get into fluid dynamics and whatnot in this video, but it was like a bit of a shock. I was like, wait a second, I got robbed. No, I didn't. And that's why they provide you another belt. The belt that you put in is just a little bit longer than the belt you take out. So because all of the pumps, all the pulleys are slightly larger. Side note, something I didn't mention before, the Turner stuff is great billet aluminum. It's really, really well made, great looking stuff. It looks and feels really, really high-end, high quality. This stuff is like a for lack of a better term, it's like, well, except for this Vallejo pulley is incredibly heavy. It's really, really, really heavy, and this is much, much lighter. But this stuff is like a glass plastic. It seems like if you cracked it, threw it on the ground, it would shatter instead of just break. It would literally almost like ceramic. But anyways, just a side note. So there you go. There's your side by side. I'm gonna go install it, and then I'll let you guys know my thoughts. All right, guys, got the pulleys installed. Just want to show you real quick. Got the water pump. Way down there is the power steering, and then right there is the alternator. So got the belts back on. I'm just gonna crank it over a couple times, make sure everything's lined out, put it all back together, and we'll go for a drive. All right, so let's give it a little test run. It's now a few months after I installed the Underdrive pulleys, and it is now winter time. I will say that the initial impressions were that I got a little bit more low end torque, and it revved a little bit more free at the high end. So this is going to be a very unscientific test. I've got about 2,000 miles on it since I put the Underdrive pulleys on, and I've got zero issues with cooling temperatures, with alternator. There's been no repercussions at all after about 2,000 miles with the Underdrive pulleys. And what we're going to do today is we're going to use my P3 vent gauge here that you see to determine 0 to 60 times. I have a 0 to 60 time established before I did this, and then we're gonna go for a run after this. Now, it's worth noting that air temperatures are a lot colder right now. It is 40 degrees outside. I don't know if you guys can see that. 40 degrees outside. And during the summertime, obviously the air temperatures are quite a bit hotter. But this P3 vent gauge will do a 0 to 60 time. It does, it's telling me what the highest temperature was. Sorry, hit the wrong button. So that's coolant temperature. It will also do ambient air temperature, so it's what's being brought in via the cold air intake, and ignition timing, and sorry, there we go, and throttle. So right now it's at 0, but if I hit it, I don't use that one much for that reason. And what else we got here? We got that's throttle, revolutions or RPM. Okay, and actual speed 0 because I'm in the parking lot. And this is the 0 to 60 time we're used. So I have a time for before, and we'll do a time for now and see how it goes. So stay tuned. All right, let's go drive to a place that's safe to do the 0 to 60 run and see what she does. I'm stuck behind this diesel pickup up here. Cross traffic does not stop. Go! we go, 0 to 60.
Right now you're probably thinking, man, 7 seconds, pretty slow. But the car's almost 13 years old, has 141,000 miles on it, and it's not built for straight line speed. It goes around corners. Great. The Underdrive pulleys, would I do it again? Yes. Better low end torque, free revving at the high end. But Dino says thumbs up.
Shaken.